Have you ever wondered why some people build wealth effortlessly while others struggle no matter how hard they work? What if I told you that understanding how money works has little to do with math and everything to do is with psychology? Well, welcome to today's episode of LG Mindset. I'm your host, Louisa, and we are diving into the deepest lessons from Deep Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This isn't your typical finance. Today, we're breaking down why young people need to shift how they think about money and how you can use those lessons to transform your life. So let's start with the big idea. Money isn't just numbers, it's about behavior. Housel explains that the way we save, spend, and invest money is deeply rooted in our upbringing experiences and emotions. So you should really ask yourself, what beliefs about money did you grow up with? Where did you taught to save, or did you see money as something to spend quickly? For example, my mother always told me, yeah, why are you not spending your money? You should live like happily. You should, for example, buy this and this and this. And I was like, seriously, like, I don't want to spend all of this money because, when you have like money every single month from your parents, well, I had this since I was like 13 or 14. And between the age of 13 and 14, I was always spending my money. But then I started to really have dreams and concrete dreams. So becoming a millionaire by the age of 21, I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to also open a YouTube channel, to also do a website, and also to invest and to trade and stuff like that. And also to open a business, but whatever. And for this, you need money. By the age of 14, I was like, today, Louisa, you're going to stop spending your money in whatever shit there is to buy. You really need to save your money. And that's why I'm also going to introduce you a method in the fourth point, I think, or the fifth point. Yeah. So I really started to feel like, yeah, money isn't just money. Money, you could really use it in a good way. Because, for example, you want to open a website, but you need money for it. If I want to open a podcast, you need money. If, for example, let's say, I need to buy a microphone, you need money. Okay, so I need money for all the dreams I want to do. And it is important to spend money to have even more money. But there are two different ways to see it. You can spend your money in whatever shit there is to buy, like I said. But if you spend your money correctly, you can spend your money and make even more money. For example, investing or trading, because you're spending your money, but then you are gaining something back. I was like, okay, now I understood how money works and why I always struggled to spend my money and stuff like that, because I have dreams and I still do it. This method is still like, even if I'm 17 and a half, I still have this method, and I think I will always have this method because it's really good. So one of the most fascinating concepts in the book is the power of compounding. Warren Buffett didn't become a billionaire because he's the smart investor. He became one because he started investing when he was just 11, and he never stopped. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow. Think of like planting a tree. The best time to plant it was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. So since I have read this book, I knew I needed to start investing the minute I could. And maybe you think investing is something negative, but it is just because you don't know exactly how it works, and that's why you're scared. And that is why I also made an episode about investing and trading, so you can also go listen to it. Listening to it will really help you afterwards because you won't have this like strange feeling of unsureness. You will really feel confident even if you invest, for example, €5 or dollars, whatever there is. It is already really good because what matters is that you make the first step today and not wait till like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. Take the step today. So in the age of social media, it's really easy to feel like you're behind, but here's the truth. Everyone has a different financial journey. Comparison is the enemy of progress. Instead of focusing on what others have, focus on building your own habits. In the book, Housel reminds us that wealth is what you don't see. It's the money you save and invest, not the flashy car or the designer bag. Most of the time, millionaires, they're like new with like all their money and stuff. And they spend their money so fast on like cars, on I don't know, like jets and stuff like that. You can see that. And let's say comparison of a billionaire, most of the time, not everyone. Let's say like Warren Buffett or even Elon Musk. you see that they don't really have like these like expensive cars and stuff like that. Like they live normally. And I'm not saying you can't like live normally. Of course, if you have money and you have like, for example, a dream car or a dream bag and stuff like that, of course you will buy it. But I'm just saying that you should really stop comparing yourself all the time with like people spending all their money and stuff like that, because wealth isn't really this. Wealth, it's really a matter of what is in your brain. Seriously. So Housel empathize that success with money is not just about effort. It's also about luck and timing. And the same goes for failure. This doesn't mean that you should rely on luck, but it's important to understand that risk is part of the game. You can't control everything, but you can control how prepared you are for opportunities and setbacks. So when it comes to managing risk, one of the most important steps you can take is building an emergency fund. Think of this as your financial safety net. So here's how to start. It's very easy. First, you need to calculate your essential monthly expenses like rent, utilities, food, transport, and stuff like that. Multiply that by 3 or 6 to set your saving goals. Open a separate saving account specifically for emergencies. Keeping it separate makes it less tempting to dip into for non-urgent expenses. And you should really start small. Set aside a fixed amount from every paycheck, even if it's just like 20 euros or 30 or 50s. Over time, these small amounts will really add up. And then you should really automate your savings. This is a really good emergency fund because it's one of the most used by, let's say, adults, okay? But I think it's also really cool if you use it when you're younger, even if you don't really have, let's say, a job or something like that. If you have a revenue, I think it's really important to have this. And this emergency fund will not also help you if, for example, you're in debt or something like that. It will also help you in so many things, for example, to invest, because you can have this money that you set aside, and then you can also invest it. And that is why we're going to talk about investing. One of my favorite lessons from the book is that wealth is about what you don't spend. Think about it. It's not about earning a 6-figure income if you're spending all of it. It's all about creating a lifestyle where your expenses are lower than your income, so you can save, invest, and grow your wealth over time. For example, I use this 20-80 method. So it's something I talked about so many times in all of my episodes. I'm just kidding. But 20-80 method is something I use personally because I am still I'm still at school. I don't really have let's say a fixed job, So what I do is I have my money, I have my revenue. It can be also like investing, the revenue from trading, the revenue from podcasts and stuff like that, like every single thing. And then what I do is that I take 80% of it, I put it in a saving account, and then I take 20%, and then I do whatever I want with it. So for example, I can buy clothes, I can buy, I don't know, let's say I need a new microphone, I'm going to save it to buy a microphone or something like that. That's also what I'm going to do. By the way, I'm buying a new microphone, so maybe the tone will be a little bit better, I think. But yeah, this is what I do because I am still a teenager. I am still someone that won't have big expenses, for example, rent or food or something like that. That's why I can do that. But if you are, for example, an adult that also struggles to save, I would do the opposite. That means 80% you take it for your rent, for food and stuff like that, and 20% you take it aside and then you invest it, or you can also put it into your bank account. That's something I always did, and that's something that really, really, really helps. So the second one is also you should really keep tracking your expenses because, for example, let's say you go buy a coffee every single day. Let's say it's about six euros or $6, whatever there is. For 1 year, you would have spent 1,440 euros on just a single coffee. This is just absurd, okay? And let's say you invested into Bitcoin those last 5 months. You could have turned your 1,440 euros into 2,592 euros. That is just insane. In just 5 months, you did literally nothing and you turned this money into this. You could do this with so many things. For example, if you don't really buy coffee every single day, it can be matcha, it can be just an addiction you have. And then you're like, damn, you could turn this money into this. Housel writes that the ultimate goal of money is freedom. It's my favorite word. So freedom to make choices, freedom to take risks, and freedom to live life on your terms. It's not about greed or accumulation. It's about creating options for yourself. What would freedom look like for you? And think about it. You can also write in a journal or something like that, but just think about it. So what's the takeaway? Money isn't just about numbers, it's about mindset. If you understand your behavior and build good habits, you'll be ahead of most people in your age. Start small, be patient, and remember, it's not about getting rich quickly. It's about building a life of freedom and security over time. I challenge you to take one of actions this week, whether it's creating a budget, starting a saving plan, or just reflecting on your relationship with money. Thank you for tuning in into LG Mindset Podcast. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend who maybe needs to hear it. As always, you can find more inspirations and tips on my Instagram and TikTok at LG Mindset. So see you in the next episode where we continue turning your dreams into plans.